Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there. But in pure Krishna consciousness, one should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No, Vishate means one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree, not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give up the example or give the example of a river flowing into ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal identity like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities inside the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of the Brahmabhuta stage of freedom from the material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahmabhuta stage develops. And material contamination, that is greediness and lust for sense enjoyment, disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord. And by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this. Apranaya tatrapi hidrishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from the misconceptions of life. So the stage of Brahma Bhuta and the effect of the process of bhakti, even at this stage and further, is more elaborately explained as in this verse. Bhakti amam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi pratatvatah. So Prabhupada is here shattering off the impersonalist concept with the example that it is not a river flowing into the ocean, Brahmabhuta stage. It is a bird entering the tree to eat the fruits of the tree. You may not be able to locate the coordinates of the bird because the bird is within the tree and the bird is very small. But that doesn't mean the bird has merged into the tree. The bird is still an individual identity. When it wants, it can fly, and when it flies, you can see. Is it not? Then you can see because the bird is hidden. It's not visible, but it flies, you can see and spot the bird. So the bird maintains its identity. Another example Prabhupada gives is aquatics in the ocean. Not river flowing in the ocean, but aquatics in the ocean. So the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master and hearing about the glories of the Lord doesn't require anything extra as such. Because it is fully replete and complete in the sense that it can make a person, it is fully replete and it is fully complete. So it can make a person cross over the Brahmabhuta stage or the Brahmabhuta hurdle. Now, Prabhupada is making a very interesting statement here. Srila Prabhupada says, after attainment of the Brahmabhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. So we know in conditioned state, by hearing, the Brahmabhuta stage develops. Incrementally, one is incrementally progressing towards a Brahmabhuta platform. And it offers simulation, so one may go and come back, go and come back, So that we have understood. Now, what does it mean that once the hearing, the devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Supreme Lord? So many times we will see this qualifier being added that when one is Brahmabhuta or Jivan Mukta, then actually the devotional service begins. So what one was doing before? There's a question mark. What was one was doing before is a question mark. So now the interesting point here is that you see in a conditioned state, a living entity is overpowered by a material conception in a conditioned state. The living entity is overpowered by the material conception. Now, because the living entity is overpowered by the material conception, the flow of devotional service is not at all steady. There is a lot of disturbance and noise in the flow of devotional service. So one is hearing Krishna Katha, but that hearing is mixed with a lot of noise. And when the transmission is noisy or when the reception is very noisy, the signal is very weak, there is a possibility that one may really not understand one may understand bits and patches. See, if the signal is weak, the transmission is noisy, or one is not attentive, both ways, the reception is filled with a good amount of disturbance, then one will understand, but in bits and pieces. In between there is short circuiting, is it not? One will not understand the whole undiluted message because of material conceptions. So one has not heard things properly in the conditioned stage. That's what it says. That's what it means, is it not? just like a disturbed transmission. Or say one is traveling, the signal is coming, not coming in train, there's a lot of noise, hawkers are coming, peddlers are coming. One wants to hear, but is not able to, and one is trying to make out what's being spoken about. Bits and pieces is getting. At least one can get that something very exciting is happening. At least that much one can get. Something very exciting is being spoken about. And then therefore, such a sadhaka, he will say, okay, I want to hear. I want to hear. Right? And he increases his sincerity, he increases his attentiveness. But sometimes, if you happen to encounter, say, such a lecture, which is a very disturbed transmission, but one can make out it's very exciting. Then what one may want to do? One may want to hear it again, is it not? One may say, I understood it's very exciting, but what it actually is, I want to taste it fully, like that. I want to hear it again. So then it is as if one has not heard it before. Is it not? No. It's as if one has not heard it before and now one is hearing it. Like that. Is it not? Just imagine, one is rushing for his exam, just when he's about to rush for his exam, he's just about to run off from Seva Kunj. Then he's seeing from the kitchen, some devotees have made some, some samosa and some spring roll, prasad or something like that, And one may feel very excited about it, So this is amazing actually, but what to do? This fellow has to run, So one may just catch one piece and somehow or the other gobble, While cycling, one is gobbling, somehow or the other is, so one won't be able to relish it much, but one understand that there is something really relishable. Good exam, bad exam, I need to rush back, immediately, like that. Somehow or the other, I have to just finish off the exam. Good exam, bad exam, I need to rush back. And one rushes back now, and then he is, at least he is ensured, please keep sufficient for me, I'm very hungry, I am very, I'm not taking rest, I have stressed a lot, I'm very hungry, please keep something for me. I'm coming back, right back, like that. And then come back and the devotee is generally merciful. So, so good, nice, big plate is kept for him. Now he comes back, now he's sitting, he pulls his cuffs, like that. Now he's sitting with that plate, and there are, half a dozen samosas and 3-4 rolls are there, and sauce is there, and drink is there, juice prasad is there, like that. And one is one is in ecstasy. He's just relishing. Is it that? This is Brahmabhuta stage actually. So the devotional service and material conception gets interrupted. The person says, okay, बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन क्या करूँ, अब इससे फाइट मार के आता हूँ, ये क्या है, ये लस्ट से, एंगर से, ग्रीड से, प्राइड, दैट पूजा लाभ, प्रतिष्ठा, विष्ठा and all that, So बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन क्या करूँ, फाइट मारना है. और पर्सन से अभी कंडीशनल ड्यूटी, अभी ये करना है, वो करना है, वो करना है, ये करना है. So somehow if one reaches the Brahmabhuta stage, then these material conceptions are not there. So that's how, because we do get interrupted. Like our devotions are going very nice. All of a sudden, lust will be on the spike. 2 days are gone fighting with it. And pride is on the spike someday. 6 hours are gone in that. And laziness is one day on the spike. Mode of ignorance. The whole day is gone in that. Is it not? So we see that sometimes, or one day one is just illusioned, and he does something wrong, he says something wrong, something to repair it. 15 days to go by, like that, like you see Rupa Goswami, Rupa Goswami gave an extreme example, He's just smiling, but then to repair it, it took so much of his time. Is it not? In a similar way, actually, the flow of devotional service is interrupted, and because the flow of devotional service gets interrupted, one just gets one piece, half piece samosa, like that. That's all. So Brahma Bhuta means one is exclusively sitting. There's no disturbance. Nobody is going to create trouble. The nice AC atmosphere, light is not going to go off, there are no winds, and no rat, nothing, and no child will eat it up. It's all there for him, and now he's relishing. Hare Krishna. That's the point. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So that's why that is the experience which is explained in this word by saying that devotional service actually begins when one reaches the Brahma Bhuta stage. ऐसा नहीं पहले नहीं था लेकिन interrupt. Now it's fully there, exclusively, uncontaminated. Very interesting. Exclusively. So, actually speaking, the process of devotional service continues after liberation. But experientially speaking, or relatively speaking, the process of devotional service begins after liberation. Isn't that? That's the point. So the first statement is the process of devotional service continues is tattva understanding. Okay, process of devotional service is not stopping; it is continuing. Rather, now it can speed up further. There are less impediments now. But the statement saying that process of devotional actually begins with a rasa understanding, basically. No, it's an experiential scale. Is it not? Like that. So therefore, liberation means what? Simply getting rid of the misconceptions. Now there are no six whips, no six anarthas, no six whips. Nothing will be there. No disturbance. That is the stage of Brahma Bhuta. Text 56 now. Sarvakarmani api sada kurvanumad vipashrayah mat prasadadavapnoti shashvatam padamavyayam. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. The word Mad Vyapashrayaha means under the protection of the Supreme Lord. To be free from material contamination, a pure devotee acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. There is no time limitation for a pure devotee. He is always 24 hours a day, 100% engaged in activities under the direction of the Supreme Lord. To a devotee who is thus engaged in Krishna consciousness, the Lord is very, very kind. In spite of all difficulties, he is eventually placed in the transcendental abode or Krishna Loka. He is guaranteed entrance there is no doubt about it. In that supreme abode, there is no change. Everything is eternal, imperishable, and full of knowledge. Chetasa sarva karmani Mayi sanyasya matparaha Buddhi yogam upashritya Machitta satatam bhava. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. When one acts in Krishna consciousness, he does not act as a master of the world. Just like a servant, one should act fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. A servant has no independence or individual independence. A servant has no individual independence. He acts only on the order of the master. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit and loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the Lord. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? If one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna, then the result will be the same. The Sanskrit word matparaha is very important in this verse. It indicates that one has no goal in life save and except acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. This is a perfect Krishna consciousness. One should, however, know that after doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That sort of duty is not in the devotional service of Krishna consciousness. One should act according to the order of Krishna. This is a very important point. The order of Krishna comes through the disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master's order should be taken as the prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts according to his direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed. So in both these verses, the Lord is highlighting the aspect of protection, that how Krishna protects the living entity, how Krishna protects a progressive sadhaka. And Krishna's protection is the most secure investment. So Krishna's protection or dependence on Krishna is the most secure investment. So now the Lord is, after explaining how Bhakti Yoga can actually, what to say of liberation, Bhakti Yoga can take one beyond liberation for, out of this material tabernacle for eternity, once and for all. The Lord is explaining Bhakti Yoga means also, therefore the Lord is Bhakti Yoga is so powerful. So now the Lord further says that therefore just depend on me and be in my protection. So that situation, now this situation not referring to exactly a Brahmabhuta, a person in Brahmabhuta stage, but this is referring to any devotee or sadhaka. If one is in the protection and the If one is in the protection of the Lord, depending on the Lord, then as Prabhupada is explaining that the going back to Godhead is guaranteed. It's the most secure investment. Despite any level of conditioning. So Bhakti Yoga is the most secure investment despite any level of conditioning. That's what the Lord explains here. Despite any level of conditioning, Bhakti Yoga is the most secure investment. Now, the interesting point is that what does it mean to be in Lord's protection and depending on the Lord? So the Lord is giving a very simple formula here. Adherence is dependence. To be in the protection of the Lord means to adhere to the instructions of the Lord and his bona fide representatives. That's the point which the Lord is explaining here. The Lord and his bona fide representative. We stick to their instructions. So the process of bhakti is a sure shot guarantee. Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that there might be difficulties. Eventually, a person will be able to transcend. There might be difficulties. Eventually, the person will be able to transcend. So therefore, adherence is a very important principle in bhakti. And Prabhupada is explaining in 57, you see. That's why you see Prabhupada is very emphatic. And Prabhupada is telling that, okay, if one is whimsical and he has done an activity whimsically, how can he offer the result of that whimsical activity to Krishna? How is it devotional service? It's not at all devotional service. But therefore, Prabhupada is very emphatically stressing on that point that one has to act according to the order of Krishna. I was saying one should act according to the order of Krishna. This is a very important point. Prabhupada is emphasizing here. One should act according to the order of Krishna. This is a very important point, Prabhupada is saying. Not that one acts whimsically. And the order of Krishna is coming through disciplic succession, bona fide spiritual master. Bona fide spiritual master. So this is very interesting because here now the Lord is explaining about the essence of bhakti. What is the essence of bhakti? Okay, bhakti is very wonderful. Bhakti is superb. It can take one out of the material entanglement. All that is very nicely understood, well taken up. But what is bhakti? The order of the spiritual master. So bhakti means the state of. So now you see on the platform of effect, it is a state of being in the shelter of the Lord, being in the protection and of the Lord by depending on the Lord. But what does it mean in terms of activity? It means adhering to the instructions of the Lord. This is a very important point for us. Yes. So actually, uh, uh, the platform of the platform of duty is not what is encouraged is to understand from the parampara what is duty rather than whimsically concocting. So here what is emphasized is, see, what is being emphasized is, okay, be engaged, follow the instructions, adhere to the order of the Lord. What is being emphasized here is depending on Krishna is not a one-time help. Dependence on Krishna is a relationship of love. And relationship means it's a commitment. See, love is a commitment. But to evoke that love is also commitment. See, love is a commitment of reciprocation, is it not? And sacrifice. But to invoke that love is also commitment of adherence or following the instruction, is it not? That's the point. So Krishna is offering a relationship. The Krishna is not offering a one-time help. It's not that one is drowning in the ocean, Krishna, no, please lift me up. Krishna lifted us up and it's okay. Krishna lifted me up, thank you very much. You go your way, I go my way. It's not so Krishna's help is not a one-time favor, it's a relationship. And a devotee learns to practice, and that the essence of that relationship or the sweetness of the relationship lies in commitment. Like you see, any relationship requires trust, integrity, sacrifice, and all. Nothing is a one-time affair. Everything is an integral. It develops over time. So in this way, we understand that the bhakti is not something different in this phase of conditioning, and it takes a different turn in the other phase of conditioning. The essence of bhakti is commitment. The commitment of duty or commitment of adherence to instruction itself becomes the commitment to reciprocate and sacrifice. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Therefore, one should not be lazy in working hard for Krishna. Yeah. That's why one should not be lazy in working hard for Krishna. So one-time service is Sukriti. Continued service is relationship. Is it not? No. One time, so why it is Sukriti? Because one-time service can be accidental also. One may not actually want to serve, but somehow he'll ended up serving. Is it not? Like sometimes, it so happens that one is just taking out his purse and there is 50 rupees out, in his hand. And all of a sudden some beggar comes. One actually doesn't want to give, but somehow the situation, this money is there in the hand, other person asks, he just couldn't say no, So that's accidental. But transcendental is not accidental. So transcendental is not accidental actually. There is a difference between transcendental and accidental. So now this is an interesting point. What is transcendental is not accidental. So therefore transcendental is integral. It's a continuum, it's a relationship. And we have the opportunity to embark on that relationship. Therefore, bhakti is never a one-off affair. Bhakti is a eternal commitment. Therefore, you see, Prabhupada is explaining that no university degrees are going to help in this regard. University degree is a one-time affair. It's done, it's finished, done for life. Is it not? So, but bhakti is a commitment. It's not a one-time affair actually. Now the Lord explains here very beautifully.